because I already knew the feds were among us. And also, one of the other strategies that I used, which is fifth dimensional chess, was that I published the books out of sequence. Although I taught from all of them verbally and in notes over the years. So, in case many of you wonder why certain books I hadn't published when people around me were publishing books, that's the real reason why, because some of them were plants. And I knew it. And for some part, many of them have made quite a good living off of stuff that I've already published. And what I did, I started choking their capacity to continue those processes. But in the process, which I stated earlier, in the process of them thinking that they were stealing, the people were being helped. And that was my motive. And I never hid that.
Okay, question. How did Al-Andalus become Spain, and what is the origin of the so-called Spanish and the so-called quote-unquote Jewish people? Who are they really?
This is now break the question. Ask two different questions.
How did Al-Andalus become Spain?
Now remember, after the fall, or basically they call it the War of Granada. And they also call it the fall of the Red House, that you hear them use that term in their Masonic orders, Red House, Blue House type thing. And you'll hear the Alhambra, which is considered one of the wonders of the world today. People from all around the world go to visit the Alhambra, and even to the day, different aspects of the Alhambra are still used on military operations, etc. And that is a Moorish city in Al-Andalus, etc. And after Boabdil ceded the Alhambra to the Visigoths, to the hoarding hordes of the hybrid Europeans in the wars, etc. That's where you get your Mummers Parade celebration in Philadelphia, January the 1st, etc. Because January the 1st, they near midnight is when the Alhambra fell, 1492, and so this is why they talk about the Columbus operations, which is really a military operation, not so much a man, of the conquest of the Moors, and in order to cover up Moorish history in Al-Andalus after the fall of the Moors. They called the area Spain, and then they called Moorish Latin, which is the language form, Spanish, to cover up Moorish history. So when you hear the word Spanish, Spanish don't damn exist. It was constructed as a cover-up of Moorish history. Spanish as a language is to cover up Moorish Latin. Spanish as a people is to cover up Moorish descendants, etc., of Al-Marak, etc., America, and of Al-Andalus. And keep in mind, when you're looking at both the linguistic form and the nature of the structure of government, you're looking at the masculine and feminine principle infused in both the language. So you'll hear Al-Andalus and you'll hear Al-Andalusia. So you have the feminine and masculine form of linguistic transmission of communication in harmony with nature. And this is why you don't hear them or you don't see them in their reconstruction practices, including the feminine principle, where their mission has been to suppress the feminine nature or the divine feminine in all things for the sake of pressing forth the dark side of Babylonian magic, or what is known as the mastery of the lower self, do as thou wilt, etc., Satanism.
Even asked, Dripmore asked if you would speak on farmers getting paid to destroy crops. What's that about?
Say it again.
Farmers being paid to destroy crops.
because they want to create a famine, which you already know. As the Prophet Noble Ali warned all of us, he says, the Europeans are going to try to starve you out. He let you know ahead of time what they intend to do so that you yourself can prepare yourself as far as storing non-perishables, as well as you getting back in harmony with Mother Earth and starting to grow your own foods, etc., i.e. start taking control of your life.
And I just heard some things to state, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this so I won't anyway, that there was something, there's a document out where they had planned, their plans were to take sea victims, right, and who succumbed to it, and to liquefy their remains and use them in part of a solution to fertilize, put it for fertilizer.
They've already been doing that. See, when they tell you that they're planning to do something, guarantee you they've been doing it for decades. Why do you think that people are so mentally, what you call, torn now? You ever heard of mad cow's disease?
Sure have.
If you start looking at the degenerated level of intelligence among people in general, how many people know when they go to fast food operations that those fast food operations were really set up from a military perspective for actually getting rid of corpses and putting it into the food supply as hamburger, and that already in world court there are suits that are presently being litigated for human DNA being in all of your fast food so-called burger joints that the people been eating their own babies.
But there's a certain amount that they said they've approved. Look, they've approved a certain percentage. It could have.
They approved. The fact that they even approve it is an admission that they've been doing it, isn't it?
Well, they tried to say the DNA was from people handling it.
Haven't they made the people cannibals without telling them?
Absolutely.
All right, to justify their what? Their child misdeeds. Sacrifice traditions that they've been doing to your missing children for a century or more. Roe versus Wade, Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood. And you keep pretending that you don't comprehend what's been going on, or that we, in our both ignorance and consent, have been participating with this fraud that has injured humanity. These are war crimes. Not prejudice, not racism. They're war crimes. That's how you should start talking. That's how you need to start looking at these politicians who are not your government. They're imposters.
Because I said so, asked, how do we find knowledgeable and trusted Moorish doctors to help with medical assessments of our health to protect us under Title 42, section.
You don't want to come.
Can I finish? Let me finish. Under Title 42, Section 1983, color of law from being forced by mandate.
You already know that mandate is not law. What you also know is you're identifying ongoing practices that prove that these people who've been saying they're your government are warring against you. You establish that even in the question. The other deal of it is now you comprehend why it's necessary for our people to become conscious of what it actually is, distinguished from what you've been shown, and to what? Exercise your intelligence together and start dismissing these people, i.e. firing them. How do you fire them? They're claiming to be officers of trust. They're claiming to be constitutional officers, which means legitimate delegated officers of trust, all of which they are not. Thus, you must start exercising, i.e. jurisprudence. Why do you think we've been encouraging the Moors around the country and outside of this country to start activating Article 3 consular court venues of diversity of nationality? Because you need to exercise your mind in jurisprudence. And you can't trust a lot of these people among your own who've been also exploiting you. in the name of law classes when they're looking for a new revenue stream, not trying to fix a damn thing. However, if you yourselves on a larger basis get some of the fundamentals, get back to the simplicity of common law and common sense, let's not make this thing complicated or complex. It need not be and never did need to be. These opportunities that have been taking you through civil rules of procedure set up by the Bar Association to make simple law complex so that they can live off of you. That's why all the lawyers, attorneys, and their helpers have become so wealthy at the expense of the poor.
Isaac Lopez asks, how do I become a Moor?
You already are. If I heard that name Lopez, I already know that you're Moor. If you're Taino, Borican, you're already a Moor. Moro. Thank you very much. Can't become what you already are. It's not a club. It's a bloodline. It's a pedigree. It's a birthright. Can't be sold. Must be claimed. Thank you very much. Hola.
Salon for Life says, Grand Sheik, can you explain the issue for the ships not allowed to come in the ports in California?
2 reasons. 1, they're not accepting U.S. Treasury bonds and trade anymore, i.e. the U.S. Federal Reserve notes. And I want all of you to start paying attention. And this is particularly in North America and Canada operations, which has the same international number, in case you all didn't know it. And you'll start noticing that some of the ATM machines, etc., or some of the places where you might do trade in grocery stores will start having entries where you put the notes in. It won't say place dollar bills here. It will be saying place note here. That's one of your signals. In other words, the hybrid operations are being phased out, and they're not accepting U.S. Treasury bonds, which we've been telling you all for the last year, that they would stop accepting U.S. Treasury bonds, and you would have a feedback loop, which is happening right now. And this is why you have a supply chain issue all over, i.e., and as Dr. Naila mentioned to me earlier today, one of my favorite stores, Dollar Tree, will be raising their prices.
Which is indicative of what's going on.
But we already knew it was coming. And I've always taken for myself. I don't tell people or suggest people do what I do. Because what I do is my choice to do in my sojourn here. I have deliberately for years kept my own personal life very, very simple. Although I'm capable of doing physical, constructive, great things, I like to see other people do stuff, and I help along the way, but I keep my own life simple because I already know it's going to be made simple anyway. My position has always been, the less I construct around me for my own self, the less they can steal from me. And while it's a sacrifice to some degree, that's my choice to do. But I also know that, and knew, that they would be liquidating people's states, i.e. stealing from you under the guise of law, color of authority, to do both things, to create stress, fear among the people, also to distract you, and also to cause harm. But I also knew that after the fact, as the people begin to reject Rome, that all your inherited estate will be returned to you. And so I focus for my personal self to keep my life simple, to keep the battle less, so I can also focus at moment's notice, because my spirit is that of a warrior, to be honest with you, that I would move with light baggage if necessary at a moment's notice, with less baggage. But that's my personal position. And so those ships are out there because nobody wants to trade with the Satanists anymore. However, because they are connected in many ways in the Swift trade platform that is being dismantled, actually, you see certain trade is continuous by necessity, but where it's not necessary, you'll see all of your big trade stores, etc., starting to have what you would call stock problems and inflation that you're seeing in all of the areas, whether food or gas and stuff like that. As an example, when I went around the store yesterday before I came down to Dr. G's today, I was in Shakamonson territory. Of course, you all know it's the Philadelphia area. And I went around to the store that I often go to, because I do eat fish, and I was noticing when I went past the seafood, as an example, Dungeness crabs, which last year was $9.95, is now like $29 a pound. So that's like triple. That's called inflation. Inflation is put in place by corrupt government to rob the people without obviously saying that they're raising taxes. And this is what they're doing to try to save themselves, i.e., because the real deal, no one wants to trade with them anymore. And of course, by our people de facto being subject to their political corrupt jurisdictions, etc., are suffering the consequence. And this is back to arguments I've been making for years. Start enforcing the Constitution. One way you can do it, being the people of the land, is activating the pre-existing law of the land, consular venue in your matters, coming out from under their jurisdictional powers. You have to do it. No one can do it for you. However, you can choose not to and continue to suffer. I don't want to get into it right now, but I was digging through some papers earlier today to bring down here. One of this is this, and in the process, I found one of my old cards doing business, the house doctor, and I showed that to Dr. Naila, and that was my old, when I was doing business, the regular thing, and I was showing her where I used the AA 222141 non-obligation exemption principle on my cards. And I said, don't say North America, it says Northwestern Mexican. And when I built the daycare for my cousin, and the people from quote unquote city of Camden came around there talking about your permits and shit, and I told them, move out the way, my blocks are coming. And I meant it too. And even when I bought the materials, I used that number and we didn't pay that fake taxes on that. And the same thing I was doing when also I was doing the building in Buena Vista, which the fakers, de facto operators came and tried to stop that operation and literally took us to court, and they lost on that same principle. And of course, over the years, I've been trying to help our people to exercise their rights that already exist. And many people came around me who are plants, who have always been secretly pretending to be my friends when they were actually trying to undermine. I knew it all the time, but they were very useful because some of them were very intelligent. And in the process of scaling, they're helping to make the people confident. And in due time, as the people have evolved, the people will shed these parasites themselves because they have served their purpose in their greed and selfishness. Because sometimes, you know how you say, keep your enemies close to you? Is one of those points. However, understanding the higher self and lower self, this is how things operate here. And being that I'm in the spirit of a warrior, my ego is not in front of the issue. My issue is to get the work done for the people.
Well, so one last question, then we'll talk about the 30th. How about that?
Come again?
I was looking for one more question. As if you're like 10 times, I'll ask it. Michael Jordan says, how important is it to remove silver mercury fillings?
How important is it?
To remove, I guess, fillings from your teeth that are silver or mercury.
Oh, because also remember, one of the whole things that they have always been doing is that knowing that we are what you will call spiritual transmitters of the cosmos. We are divine beings manifested in human flesh. One of the things that they've been wanting to do from an experimental point of view, functional experimental point of view, was to get nanobots in the bloodstream, in your crystal stream. And this is again why they've been pressing desperately to get people to take the current jabs of graphene. However, one of the problems that they have run into, they have recognized that with many of the beings, that the graphene operations have what you call a degenerative lifespan, where they start losing power of magnetism for transmission of microwave and other technologies that they've been using for mind control. So they want you to get another jab, and then they want you to get another jab until they can perfect the transmutation of humanity and AI technology, so that they can literally turn you on and off, and thus control you electronically with what they have not necessarily been able to always do with what you would call the transmission of psychic attacks and mind control systems. So if they get it in your bloodline or in your blood, they can contaminate you. Also, the same way they did with the military operations with seeds and ovum of plant life, etc., patented, and then claim that the people are no longer part of the human family, and that the popes of Rome and the bishopric can, under unum sanctum, declare that the people that have taken the graphene shots are no longer part of the human family, and therefore are not, by rule of law, subject to human rights, and therefore can be eliminated at the will of those who have the patents on those different so-called interjections. And don't think that that's not what's going on, because it absolutely is. And I suggest that you do a little research, and you'll see that that's going on right now in court cases on the international venue.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the 30th, because it's only
let's share
29 days from now. We had hoped to get this out sooner. I'm gonna prop this up in front of you. Let me see. Let's see. Here's the graphic covering Grand Sheik. It says House of Reawakening Minds, up close and personal 2. If you were at number 1, we had a great time. But no, we don't need that right now. But what we're gonna do this time is we were gonna do it on the 29th and have another event on the 30th. Instead, we're doing one event on the 30th, which is a Saturday, October 30th. It's going to start at 1 p.m. The doors are going to open at 12. And we probably are going to go for about 8 hours, but we won't be leaving at 2:30 in the morning this time. We want, you all to be able, if you're catching planes, trains, or automobiles, whatever way, we want you to be able to get out of there at a decent time. There is a link that you can purchase tickets, and you can purchase multiple tickets, but we only have 75 tickets for this event, Grand Sheik. It's very up close and personal. So in order to get your ticket, the link for a ticket, and I'm pretty sure we're going to sell out like immediately. So here we are running at the bottom, up close and personal 2, Grand Sheik, Dr. G. And we have about 3 other speakers, guests, different from what we had the last time. We had an awesome time. But if you would text 1030 to 302-345-0500, you will get the link for purchasing your ticket or tickets. But it is already set up with the number of tickets, and when they're gone, they're gone. So we hope that you'll be able to come to this one, and we look forward to meeting and greeting with those of you, particularly those that we've never met in person before. If you can come, this will be our last event for 2021 rather, 2021. And hopefully in 2022, things will open up more so that we can do some more in person, even at once a month Friday in person, like we used to do Grand Sheik, but we're still going to do the two like this because we get a better club. So that is the information. It's only 29 days away. If you want to get that link, please text 1030 to 302-345-0500. Do not call, please. Just text 1030 to 302-345-0500, and you will get the link, which will take you directly to PayPal, where you can purchase a ticket or tickets. But as we said, when those 75 are gone, it's done. So, Grand Sheik, I'm going to just get that out. So,
thank you.
Here is let me take this off your face.
And we want to thank you all for sharing this night with us, and trust that we did some good to inspire you to start taking responsibility and learn the truth of American law and government and the principles of sovereignty, which is divine in origin and is not a legislated platform, etc. And so your continued support of the House of Reawakening Minds is greatly appreciated. Know that. And you can volunteer to assist us with your technical skills and abilities by calling Dr. G during normal business hours at 302-345-0500. And you can also support via cash.me, $reawakening, or paypal.me, Naila Gilliam, or checks and money orders payable to House of Reawakening Minds and sent to 602 Vandiver Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, Republic, zip exempt 19802. Thank you for sharing this evening with us. And when those who come sharing with us next month, I apologize, we'll be having this available that I've shared with you all tonight.
We will have flash drives also at the event too.
Yes, and we'll have flash drives there available to you. And again, thank you and have a grand evening.
Thank you so much. So we appreciate you. So we're gonna put I think we should leave with the banner up. So they can remember. Yeah. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
The deeper and deeper I go, I find what it is I should know. 'Cause it's just a matter of time that you'll reawaken your mind. Oh, come with me, come to know and find out what is true. Then you'll know what's in store just for you. No more living a lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening mine. Come to know and find out what is truth, yes. Then you'll know what's in store just for you. No more living a lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening mine.